Which dungeon tiles should you actually make? I made 5 total just to show you the difference between all of them so we can kind of compare and see which are the best. These are by Crooked Staff Terrain, Black Magic Craft, also Black Magic Craft, Wyloch's Armory, and then a modified version of Wyloch's Armory. So this video is not intended to be a tutorial for each of these tiles. I'm going to go through and do the build process of each, talk about it a little bit, and then at the very end, I'm going to go ahead and talk about all the tiles, comparing what I think are the positives and the negatives, and then maybe even do a tier list based on my personal experience with each of these. Starting out with an option from Crooked Staff Terrain, which is criminally underrated. He makes print and paste terrain tiles that are all available for free or pay what you want. So I'll go ahead and include a link in the description. So the downside to these is that you need to have a printer with some ink. Other than that, you just need some regular craft glue and then cardboard. So the thing is with these, you just need to kind of map out where you're going to be putting your wall tiles. You can see I marked those off with a marker so that I can kind of map out exactly where I'm going to be putting my tiles. These are going to be your fastest from start to finish to table, and they look great. Next, the absolute classic Black Magic Craft original tiles. We've all seen them, we all love them, we've all made them. So for these, they're very simple, and I would say the process is much easier if you actually have a hot wire foam cutter, but it is not necessary at all. The upside of these is that you can make them double-sided. So if you wanted to do a wood texture on one side and you want to do a stone texture on the other side, you can see how quickly the construction of these are probably the second fastest two-table option that we have, and how good they look depend on how much time and effort you want to put in here. And I would say these are a very good entry point for somebody that wants to get into crafting but is not sure where to start. These are just a very simple and easy project. Again, we have Black Magic Craft up next with his new and improved tiles. For these, I would say I do not recommend making them unless you have a hot wire foam cutter, because you're supposed to be making these out of 1/2 inch thick XPS foam, and to me, just cutting that many individual squares is a pain. I also think that you can actually buy the 3x3 inch squares made out of wood individually, and that'll speed up the process a lot. I did find these extremely satisfying to make, and I did a few polls from people to see which they liked best aesthetically, and this turned out to be number 1 every time. Up next, we have Wyloch's Armory with his interlocking tile system. So in this video, I didn't actually make the interlocking tile system, but I have in the past. And I have to say, it is pretty awesome to use if you don't have something that's going to keep your tiles in place. The positives of these is that you can make these very easily out of recyclable materials. A lot of stuff that you have just kind of sitting around, so they're mostly made out of cardboard and then some cereal box material. You can do the wall pieces with foam, or you could also just use pieces of cardboard for that as well. So these are great for having kind of a modular system that you can make out of materials that you just find around your house. And if you do the interlocking type, it is very, very satisfying. These are a bit of a pain to make compared to the rest of the ones that we've showed so far. So I have made a modified version of this out of foam because it just speeds up the process immensely. So you can see that I had some of the measurements that were on screen. And so if you just use those exact same measurements but make everything out of foam, since you can kind of just automate the process by just having to set your fence once and then just push everything through, you can go ahead and use that and just mass produce a batch of these. One of the downsides of these as well is that you need a lot of these for them to actually be usable, and you need a lot of different types of these for them to actually be usable. But once they're down on the table, they are absolutely amazing, especially if you're trying to do like a true dungeon crawl with the walls. You can do a lot of cool things with line of sight, and yeah. So which of these are my favorite and which of these are my least favorite are very subjective. But my least favorite is the original Black Magic Craft tiles, and this is because the 3" by 3" squares, while they're fun to make and they look okay on the board, they don't add too much depth outside of an original battle mat. And I would say the same with the new and improved versions too. Personally, if I was going to be using something like this, the only reason I would use them is for adding in elevation when I stack them on top of each other. I am a true board gamer at heart, and I really like the dungeon crawl feel of having walls that block line of sight. So even if I have a dungeon that's fully laid out, I can then just reveal things as the players go into line of sight. And so that's why I really like the Crooked Staff terrain, because they're so easy to make and they look so good. The problem with them is that they slide around a lot. So it depends what surface that you're playing on, and it also depends on how smoothly the Voodoo Ranger Juicy Hazy IPAs are going down that night. Because if they're going down really smooth, these things are going to be sliding all over the place. But if you have a felt surface or something underneath, they will stay in place just fine. That leads me next to the Wyloch tiles, and I really like these because they are upcycling a lot of the things around your house. So if you have cereal boxes or beverage boxes and cardboard boxes from Amazon, then you can just make these with that. And I think that's great because there is so much cardboard waste that's going around nowadays, and this is a great way to go ahead and get rid of some of that. And these dungeon tiles are super fun. If you want to add in the interlocking tile system on the bottom though, you do have to buy this specific chipboard. Wyloch mentions that in his video. The reason the system works is due to the thickness and the friction that's created by having that exact thickness. And so my overall favorite is the modified version of Wyloch's tiles, and that's because they're much easier to make. They look about the same. I think the paint holds a bit better and looks a little bit more interesting on the foam because you can texture it more than you can just cardboard, but more so just easier to make. And yeah, I really like the dungeon crawling experience. But if you're just looking for a starter project, then Black Magic Craft tiles are the way to go. If you want something that's on the table fast, then it's going to be Crooked Staff terrain. But if you want something that's going to be a modular system that you can reuse and will always look good, it's going to be one of the Wyloch systems, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, the best ones are going to be the ones that you use. And as you can see, all of them can be used together, so there is no right or wrong answer. It really just depends on which you like the look of the best and what best suits your playing style.
Anyways, be sure to like and subscribe, drop a comment for the algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.